Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talking with the Stars. If you're listening to this through Spotify, it's good to hear from you again. And if you're seeing this through YouTube, it's good to see you again. Alright, so I'm going to start off by being blatantly honest with this podcast and say I have not made a script or anything to go based off of, because the topic that we're going to be talking about today is something that sort of is quite, I would say personal to me, but like it's very much for like me and me talking about myself. And just kind of thought that I didn't really need a script to talk about this topic in particular. So yeah, let's do that. So on my channel, I've made it very kind of like clear and like obvious that I am in support of the LGBTQ community. You guys are fully aware that I completely support the possibility of exploration. I support queer rights, trans rights, all of those. Like everyone deserves rights, essentially. It doesn't matter who you are. Love is love. Love is so organic. And I also very much support the possibility of exploring. I think I said that before. The possibility of exploring and just kind of, I guess, understanding and learning about yourself in terms of love and where you sort of fall within like the labels and whatnot of the community. But I will, like, something that I've always kind of felt personally per se is that in particular to me, labels are something that have only like driven me a little bit cuckoo crazy. And the reason for that is because I feel like it's so organic the way that like love is, and it just happens that you like, it's hard to put yourself in a label, and even when you do put yourself in a label, that label sometimes isn't even correct. And I'm going to talk about my personal experience with kind of where I am now in a state of my, I guess, label, but like not necessarily my label. So for about a year now at this point, it's always, I swear, it's always November where I go like, wait a minute, I've made a discovery. So as you guys are aware, I identified on the internet a lot as a lesbian. That was my sexuality, and I felt very comfortable within that label because I was a woman who identified as a woman, attracted to other women and other people who identified as a woman. So I was like, there we go. That's my label. It's easy peasy, done, lemon squeezies. Because it was also just the easiest one to put myself in, mainly because of the fact that it's just like, you know, women love women. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. I have been someone who kind of not jumped per se, but kind of explored the possibility of different labels, because I genuinely didn't know where I stood within like the labels of the LGBTQIA plus like community. Like, what if someone asked me what my sexuality was, what do I say to them? And I've always kind of fallen back to the label of either pan or queer because of the fact that I genuinely didn't know. And I will go through these times where I go like, okay, I know what it is now, it's this label, and then fall back onto I am queer. Because I've always been curious to kind of figure out what is the label that I fall into. Like, yes, I can say I'm queer, but what if someone wants me to get more specific? What do I tell them then? What is my sexuality then? So I did a lot of like kind of, I guess, searching for what is my sexuality, and I fell upon the label of lesbian and was very comfortable with that. I was like, I think that's it. I think that's what I am. So I was very proud about that. I was like, especially because unfortunately there is this weird this weird view on lesbian where like on like the label lesbian, where it's either really heavily sexualized or really heavily like kind of frowned upon. And on top of that, there are even people who think the word itself, lesbian, is a disgusting word. So I wanted to go like, no, it's not a disgusting word. It's a great word. And I love the word. So I was very openly like, I am a lesbian and I am proud of that. And lesbian's not a bad word. Stop it. No. And so I got really comfortable with that, which meant when I was present online on the internet, it was very well known that I was a lesbian. Or at least that I was like queer in some shape or form. But because I was so like, my mind was so set on being like, I am a lesbian and I'm proud of that. And I shouldn't feel ashamed to be a lesbian because other people are trying to make it like, a strange like concept or whatnot. Like I was so like ready to put myself forward and be like, I am a lesbian. And recently I've kind of taken that step back, because my videos used to be quite mixed on TikTok, where I'd talk about like my sexuality, gender identity, talk about mental health, talk about all this other stuff. And then everything except for mental health kind of stopped. Like all I posted about was like mental health thing, and also stuff about the, like things that are happening on around in the world. But yeah, I kind of drew back from talking about myself in terms of my sexuality because I started questioning it again. And I want to talk about that experience of what the mentality was that really kind of made me go like, though I think, like it's beautiful and it's amazing to identify as a lesbian, I think like you should be proud of your sexuality, like no matter what it is. Is it right to say I am a lesbian? Like, am I a lesbian? Like I sort of had like, I had the exploration of like, but am I a woman? And now it's time to kind of just dip my little toesies back in the little, like, am I a lesbian? Like, am I? So, and this kind of came from an experience that I had where I, like, because like the reason why I got so comfortable being like, yep, me, lesbian, was because a lot of the crushes that I had was women. And I was like, I'm obviously emotionally and intimately drawn towards them because they're women. Therefore, lesbian. Like, that's how like women love women. Is that not it? But one of my most recent sort of, I guess, love interests that I've had, just did not actually identify as a woman. They identified as gender fluid, meaning that some days they feel like they are a woman, but other days they may not. And I was thinking about that and I was like, because I see a lot of people kind of talk about like, oh, I was dating this person and then they came out to me as trans. Like I remember seeing this one video where it was like two girls who are in a relationship and the girl kind of goes like, my girlfriend came out to me as a man, and she steps back and goes, I guess I have a boyfriend now, and holds up the pansexual flag, basically being like, it doesn't matter to me because I've built this emotional connection with them that the gender really is just beyond me and stuff like that. Like it really doesn't matter to me. And I was thinking about that and I was like, if for whatever reason I had a partner who was a woman and she came up to me and told me that she was a man, she came up to me and she was like, I think I'm trans, like whether it's man, non-binary, whatever, and would that change in my mind the way that I kind of view them and actually like value them in terms of romantic interest and in terms of being my partner? And I guess if the answer was yes, then this podcast wouldn't exist. So the answer was no. It didn't matter to me. It really made me realize that just if I build that emotional, that bond, that love with that person, it really is like, it doesn't matter to me if they identify as a woman or not. It's just, can I love you? And I know that like pan romantic exists. I know that there's a possibility that like, you know, I could be pan romantic and like sexuality wise a lesbian. Like I know that that sort of stuff exists, but I feel like the more I break it down and the more complex that I make it, the more confusing it will become in terms of love. And what it really is more so is just a human being organically and naturally feeling love and strong emotions for another human being who can also feel love and strong emotions. Like it's like, I guess if you kind of just look at it in the most basic way, you are just two people who are finding love and falling in love. And that's just kind of how I wanted to view it. Like I'm just someone who wants to fall in love with someone. It doesn't matter what their gender is and whatnot. Like I want to love them. And so like after realizing that, I went, but if I fall in love with someone who is not a woman, that's not a women love women relationship. So am I a lesbian? And I guess it kind of sprung up new questions with am I pansexual? And I know that the answer based on my explanation could be yes. Like I am a lesbian. But I think the truth is that like this isn't a podcast being like I came out as a lesbian, I came out as pansexual, woohoo. I think this podcast is saying that I'm coming out saying I don't know. Pansexual makes the most sense. I guess if I do want to put a label on it for whatever reason, pansexual kind of fits me more than a lesbian. And I've actually jumped back and forth from pansexual and queer many times. Queer would probably just be my go-to thing, like I'm queer. But then if I have to put a like specified label, I would probably, I guess, say pansexual actually fits better than lesbian, because I really don't care about the person's gender. But the reason why I'm not fully going like it's pansexual, that's my sexuality, is because like intimately wise, I don't know. I really don't know. And that's okay to not know. Like I said, it's such a natural and organic thing that happens. Love just kind of happens, and it really doesn't matter about the gender of any of the two people, in my honest opinion. It doesn't matter, it's just emotions that come and you feel them, and then if they can be reciprocated, you enjoy that experience of being in love with someone else. And it's just, at the end of the day, two humans who just love each other and want to make each other happy and be with them for the rest of their like lives. And I don't, especially because I don't know whether I can be interested in other genders, I don't want to strictly say I am a lesbian and stop it there, at the chance of, I guess, not blocking out, but like limiting like the possibilities for myself. And I know that like there will be people out there who will identify as a lesbian and be so like, you know, confident that that's it, they can't fall in love with anyone else. But to me, I don't necessarily know. I don't know if it's just women. Even if it is just women, saying like, you know, just saying I'm queer, it works. Like, I don't know what that label is specifically that I am, but I just know that I am queer. I definitely know that I'm not heterosexual, I'm not straight, but what that label is, I don't know. And I guess I just found comfort in just saying I'm a lesbian and stopping there, because I just knew I was a woman who could be attracted to other women. But then if I can also have the potential of being like, if there also is the potential of falling in love with someone who doesn't identify as a woman, then why kind of stop it at I just love women and that's it? I think like in terms of me very personally, like keep in mind that this does not equate to anyone else at all. this all literally just equates to myself. But I don't want to close that door. For the longest time, I've been going like, I am a lesbian and I am proud and I love it. And although I loved myself and I loved the confidence that I had, like honestly, slay to me, I think I am happily confident to say, I don't know. And I know that it sounds a little bit like counterintuitive that I'm confidently coming up here to my little podcast microphone and saying, I don't know what it is. Lol. But I think it's okay. I genuinely think that it's okay to not know. Love just happens. You just fall in love with people. You don't need to kind of have it all figured out. If you have it all figured out, especially at a young age too, like at a young age, it can be so daunting to be like, there are so many labels. Which one is my label? But I feel like you don't really need to know. You just kind of love people and you see what happens. Like, I am very confidently just queer. That's it. I am confidently going to sit here and say, I think I'm just queer, and I don't know if I'm a lesbian. I don't know if I'm pansexual, bisexual, any. I just know I'm queer. I can fall in love with women. I can fall in love with men. I can fall in love with anyone. I don't know if I can, I don't know intimately wise. I know intimately I can fall in love with women or with women. I don't know with men. I don't know with non-binary people. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm not the age where keep in mind, I'm only 18. Keep in mind, I'm only 18. I don't know any of this yet. I still have so much in my life to kind of figure it out. So I guess I just really wanted to come out and say, I don't know. And I think it's okay that I don't know. And I think it's okay if you also don't know. You're allowed to be confident that you are queer. You're allowed to be confident that you know you're not heterosexual. But I don't think you have to be so hard on yourself to figure out, of all the queer labels, which one are you? Especially because now there are a lot more coming out too. As someone who is so supportive of people, discovering their sexuality, discovering their gender identity, sometimes I'll hear people say, I identify as this, and I'll be I identify as this, or my sexuality is this, and I'll be oh, that's cool. What exactly, what is that? What does it mean to, for your sexuality to be XYZ? As someone who is fully in support of it, sometimes I get lost with labels and don't really know which one. But I think that's okay. I personally although it's nice to be able to have a label and to be able to narrow it down and be yes, this is what I am. I think if you're someone like me who is stuck in a position where you genuinely don't know, you don't need to know. You don't need to sit there and be I think I'm this or I think I'm that. 'Cause it's okay. It's genuinely okay to not have to not be able to explicitly say, this is my sexuality, this is my gender identity. And I truly think that's okay. Despite the fact, even sometimes when it comes to my gender identity, I think am I just am I a woman? Am I? That one I've kind of been more I think I am. I that one I'm kind of a lot more sure about and a lot more confident about. But sexuality, it's you don't know. Do I know? Nuh-uh. I think it's okay to not distinctively know what your label is. It's okay to not distinctively be able to give a clear answer to what it is. If you're someone who's kind of juggling, or stressing out about it, even though it's easier said than done, I truly believe that you can just be I don't know, and that's okay. As humans, we sometimes don't know. emotions, I've said this a lot and I'll say it again, emotions are hard to articulate. You will never be able to know exactly what you are. People sometimes put themselves in a label and it still doesn't resonate perfectly. And I don't think the answer is to make more labels, because then I feel like we can get lost with like labels and stuff, and it's like then they kind of start to get a bit too similar to each other. But I think it is okay to be like, I am queer, and that's it. Because I think that's currently where I sort of sit. I genuinely don't know. I am queer. I'm not heterosexual, so I don't only like I'm not someone who likes just men, but I also don't think lesbian resonates with me anymore. I don't think I like just women or those who only identify as women. I don't know. So if you're kind of sitting there going like, oh my god, Nina's pansexual, or oh my god, I think Nina's just confused and still lesbian, don't, because the whole point of this podcast was to literally just be like, I don't know, and that's okay, and just talk about my experience with kind of, I guess, exploring my sexuality. And I thought, especially because I have so many videos up talking about the fact that I'm a lesbian, I don't think it's right to keep those up when I myself am like not identifying as that anymore, because then people will still think I'm a lesbian and then it will just kind of not be correct per se. And of course I can also just not be open about it, but then it clashes with my ideology that the whole point of my channel is that I am open with you guys, because I don't think on the internet I need to pose a certain way or I need to paint myself a certain way for people to like me. You follow me because you like me and the organic me and the real me and the transparent me. I don't know. I've never seen my account to be something where I pose a completely certain way and that's what you see and that's it. I've always wanted my account to be me being silly and me just being myself. That was literally the whole point of the creation of Nini Cosmic Con. And on the topic of that, because of that, there are actually now different channels on YouTube. One I cannot get into, so I have to remake the channel again. But there are actually new channels that are going to be up that will strictly focus on other things, because Nini Cosmic Con, the whole point of it is to be like all silly and just like see me just like as who I am. There are going to be different accounts coming out. One being that Verenity is now going to get her own account as opposed to just kind of being squished and lost with the Nini Cosmic Con. Talking with the Stars is not going to get its own channel, mainly because it is really just me. Like, maybe if I was co-hosting with someone else, then Talking with the Stars would have its own account, but because it's literally just me and then my little buddy Spirit and Nina, literally another Nina, I think it just makes sense to keep it in Nini Cosmic Con. And then there's going to be another channel, which I'm not going to say just yet, because then this will kind of defeat the surprise of it, the surprise aspect of it. But if you stay tuned if you want to see that one. So, and I think this will also be a good podcast. I think this podcast will also be educational too, to those who kind of also don't really get or understand or really know kind of where they sit within labels and whatnot. I hope you can find closure in this with being like, I don't know and I'm not sure if I will know, but that's okay. I think that it's okay. Like, I am very confidently going to say to everyone, I'm queer, and I'm not going into any more depth of that. I don't know what it is specifically. I don't know if I'm a lesbian. I don't know if I'm pansexual. There's a couple that I've eliminated where it's like, it's definitely not that, but I don't know. And I also don't want to say I'm a pan-romantic lesbian, because then it gets too specific and it's confusing to me, and I don't know. So remember, love is love. It's always going to be super organic. You'll never know what happens. If you're confident in your sexuality, that's amazing. If you're not, that's okay, because I'm not either. Anyway, I love you guys very much. I hope you will slay the day away, besties. Don't stress too much about this. Unfortunately, within the queer community, it can start to kind of be your whole thought process of what am I, what's my label, what's this, what that. Don't let it get to that, because there is really no point stressing about labels, because you also never really know. And I'm not saying that like you're gonna find the perfect person one day, or you just haven't found the right guy yet. Sometimes like it's not always gonna be that way, but yeah, you just never know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and bye.